It's so pretty.
So I've been doing land rehab on the coast for almost 20 years, and I will tell you that if I see ice plant and that's the only problem we have, I am so happy. Ice plant with a lot of physical effort and or practical use of herbicide, if you're comfortable using it, is really, really easy to get rid of. You have to continually maintain it. It will pop up after you think that it's all gone, but it's in small patches. It has a really easy root system to tear out. It spreads more vegetatively than it does via seed and flower. And because it grows up and over everything, it doesn't really give a lot of opportunity for other more windborne seeds to really get in there and germinate. So since we've mostly gotten rid of that, and remember this was a 20-acre site that was almost a complete monoculture of ice plant. That photograph right there, the little gray-green is the Areophilum. Everything else is ice plant.
Wow.
And that ice plant extended into the state park property. So I started working out here for state parks, and we had roughly 200 to 300 acres of ice plant.
And what year was that?
2004-ish, 2005.
So only 13 years.
Yeah.
And now it's all.
So, and this is a common phenomenon with lighthouses, right? There's a common introduction of cats is one common thing, and other sort of controlled vegetation because they didn't want really tall. On average, they didn't want tall trees and stuff around the place, right? So on the Channel Islands, a nucleating source for a lot of plant and vertebrate invaders.
Yeah, and in this particular location, so ice plant was seen as sort of this miracle plant at a certain era of management, right? So keep in mind, this is the 30s. So for the Coast Guard especially, people finally have international travel. They're living in different countries. They get exposed to these exotic plants. It's really cool. And they bring them back to the States.
This guy's from South Africa.
Yeah. So ice plant lives at a similar latitude, similar environmental pressures as our coastal plants do. And so it thrives here, but doesn't have any of its natural checks and balances here. It also has this amazing adaptation where it excretes salts from its root system, which not only prevents other plants from growing up around it, but if you're in a rehab project where there's a bunch of ice plant and you're not in a coastal site, native flora has a really difficult time coming back. You have to do a lot of soil amendment. We're really fortunate on the coast that our coastal scrub plants obviously are really well adapted to that, and all we really had to do was pull the ice plant out and this existing seed bank popped up. So you'll definitely see a couple places along the trail where it's very obvious we planted stuff because we wanted some demonstration plants here. But overall, it was that easy. I mean, it took 8 years of people pulling ice plant out. And that was just this 20 acres. The state park side of it, and you'll see different vegetation. Part of that has to do with soil type. Once you get past this, we're like Rocky Bluff. You get past that main entrance gate where the white archway is, and you get into a dune system. So when you get out there, you'll see a lot more plant variability, a lot more diversity. Part of that is the dunes. We think that part of it, though, is the management differences. When I worked for state parks, we did a contract herbicide spraying. So we just let stuff die in place, dumps tons of nitrogen into the soil. We think that may have contributed to the different kinds of plants that grew up underneath it. As opposed to this site, it was just hand pulled and left bare soil. And so it was whatever seed bank existed here. So we're not really sure what contributed to what. It would have been really cool to do a controlled study, and we just didn't have the staff or the longevity of staff here to really be able to pull that off.
This is also almost an island, right? This little promontory, so it's a relatively defensible thing, as opposed to being in the middle of a big giant grassland where you have sort of natural walls here that you could attack.
Yeah. And even as we're working, because we do a lot of invasive plant management on the state park side too, when we're working in there, we do kind of keep it localized. So for instance, part of it is for the public. So part of it is we kind of defend our road. So 10 feet on either side, we try to make sure that's all native vegetation. But then we'll work like in the northern dune system and not worry about the grassland for a while, and then we'll switch. Because part of that too is that we're really dependent. 2 staff members. My boss doesn't do a lot of invasive plant management. I sometimes have interns, sometimes don't. Pulling plants out of dunes is a lot easier than out of hard packed earth, right? So you're totally dependent on volunteer groups, and especially for us, it's like Sierra Club, other older retired groups. You want to make things as physically easy for people as possible. And more people don't want to be using herbicides for obvious reasons. And so I don't ever ask our volunteers or interns to use herbicides unless they're already comfortable with them. So we have 2 new volunteers that actually work for national parks doing invasive plant management. So they're really comfortable with it. In fact, she even has, I think, still her certification for pesticide use. So, and we use very minimal, it's very minimal herbicides out here, but it is, unfortunately, it's still a necessary evil.
So this looks way better than a sea of ice plant.
Yeah.
I think.
Yes.